Hello everyone, good evening. I hope everyone is doing great. So tonight we're going to have a live stream about idioms and expressions in English. So whether you are a student or a teacher, you are more than welcome to join us. So now I'm going to invite my guest to join us. He's a great teacher, and maybe you already know who he is if you've seen my last post. So hello Fabio.
Hey Isabel, how are you doing?
Great, how are you?
I'm great too. Thanks for having me.
So I'm so glad that you accepted.
Oh, come on.
So I just want to say thank you. First and foremost, thank you so much for joining this live stream tonight. So I know you have a busy schedule, and before we start talking about idioms and expressions, I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey.
Right, so I'm Fabio Emerim. I teach English. I've been teaching English for, well, a long time, 23 years.
Wow.
And probably your age, Isabel.
No, not at all. I'm much older than that.
Oh, all right. But so I taught at a school from 99 to 2003, and then I went solo. I opened my own business and I started teaching only private. I started acting also on social media with English tips on Twitter. But that was into, oh dear, I think it was in 2009. Yeah, 2009. 2009 wow. I started that. Yeah, you see, that's crazy. And then I used to write blogs, and now I have a podcast. I don't know. I have to stop a little bit, otherwise I won't have time to sleep.
That's true. I've seen your work, and I you do amazing things. And I think that what you just said about being online and trying to build a platform since 2009, that's a great example for people who are starting out, so that they can see that it's not something that can be done overnight. It's something that takes time and persistence, and you need to have that in order to build a great platform. And I just want to mention your Twitter account real quick, because your Twitter account, oh my goodness, it's amazing. And
nice, thank you.
I was able to take a look at it, the past week, and it was, oh my God, I was so impressed, because it's great. And if you guys don't know that, Fabio has the largest, right?
In Brazil, for English tips, serious English tips, it's the largest,
It's the largest Twitter account for English tips. So make sure to check it out and, follow that account, because it's, it won't regret it. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And also you have a podcast, right?
I do have a podcast with the teacher Karina Fragoso. Invited me like a little more than 1 year ago for creating with her the podcast for English in Brazil. So I host two of them, because we had, in the beginning, we had 3 shows, which was the Blah Blah Spot. It was Karina and I having guests or not, speaking in Portuguese or in English, about English, what came to our minds. Then the other one would be Starting Up, which is only me, giving tips for basic students, beginners, and Way Ahead, where is 100% English. So for those who want to, practice their listening skills, and it's really good. It's really nice.
Go on.
No, I
Go
just
on.
wanted to say, about the Twitter that you said. It is interesting because my Twitter started really being big after 10 years. Like,
Really?
imagine, and this is interesting. Imagine if someone comes to you and says, Isabel, here's the thing. You were going to start something now, but you will only be happy in 10 years. Deal? I mean, what would you say to that person?
I would say
Get
you're
alive.
crazy.
Yeah. So it's really crazy because this is about like believing what you do. I mean, I've always believed that okay, I think this is a great way of giving English tips. Why not? The people are not seeing this or something. It happened. One day it happens.
Yeah. Perseverance, right?
Hmm?
It's all about perseverance.
Yeah,
At
sure.
the end of the day, yeah.
You have to insist. Seriously.
Yeah, that's true. And that's a great example because now you have the largest Twitter account, in Brazil.
Yeah,
And that's
mm-hmm.
amazing. And I know that a lot of teachers, including myself, we look up to you so much. So,
thank you. Thank you.
That's a great example.
We all learn. Teachers learn from other teachers. I learn from my students a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Seriously.
I think all of us do,
Seriously.
right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So now let's talk a little bit about your content because again, I was able to take a look at it and I loved it. I think you have a great sense of humor.
Try to be.
That's the sense of humor that I like and I think that most people like because it's it's funny, it's silly, but it's not too silly, and it's funny and it's interesting, and it's the kind of sense of humor that makes you learn because you are able to associate some things, right? And that's incredible. And you talk a lot about expressions, about pronunciation, and how did you decide that that was going to be your niche?
I've always believed that learning should be fun. You don't want a student like waking up one day in the morning and say, "Oh God, I have class," right?
Definitely, amen.
Yeah, come on, right? I mean, and this is the thing. I think this is the first thing that a teacher should have in mind. What can I do to make my students enjoy it? What can I do to make these people really want to stay a little longer in class or miss class when they don't have it? And as you said, when I use humor, really silly humor, but I love silly humor, like the from England, like Monty Python. I've always loved them. And I think that this makes the thing like, ha, look at that. I'm learning with that bastard, right? That's the point. So no matter what, I just want your students to learn. And if you're able to do this in a relaxed and fun way, what the hell? Just do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that what you just said is so important because that's what moves me the most. When a student comes to me and says, "Oh, unfortunately I had to be absent last class and I missed it so much, and I just love coming to class." And when they're not there as just another thing that they have to do, and they actually want to be there, and that's that's something that really moves me, and I think that's what all of us, all the teachers want, right? That's the goal.
You want, of course, you want your students to, I think the best thing I like to hear from my students is like, "Oh, it's over," right?
Yeah.
You don't want your students to go like, "Oh, when will this be over? I need to go there. I need to do this." No. You want, when you finish your class, you want your students to say, "Aw, it's finished." All right? That's what you want to hear.
Yes, you want them to, to stay there and
that's a win.
Have another class.
Yeah, of course. That's the spirit. That's the
Absolutely.
spirit.
And so now let's talk a little bit about idioms, because I
Yeah,
saw some
sure.
great videos that you posted, that you make great associations. And where do you, where do they come from? Like, teach us your ways, because I want to learn how you come up with
Wow.
those things.
You know, I keep asking myself this question like all the time. I studied advertisement, so I've always liked the creative kind of thing, you know. I'm an only kid, right? I'm an only kid or only child. I have no siblings. So since an early age, I had to learn how to do stuff without needing anyone else. So probably this played a very important role in this process. I don't know, really, that you have to find a way. And it all started, I said once, for example, when we talk about the pronunciation tips that I give, I had a student a couple of years ago. She wouldn't say obviously. Remember that? I think I put something about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she couldn't say obviously, and like we had like 30 minutes trying, try to get that say that, and then at a certain moment I said, okay, listen, imagine that your cousin Slee, and that is the point. You have to come up with the most absurd names.
Yeah.
Imagine that your cousin Slee calls you like 5 a.m. Sunday morning, and then you answer the phone, and then he asks you, "Oh, were you sleeping?" Your reply would be, "Obviously." That's it. She never forgot that. Well, today she lives in Australia. I guess it worked out, but
Yeah, I guess she remembers that.
yeah,
For
and,
sure.
and this is those dad jokes.
Yeah, I love that
That
joke.
I love it. Dad jokes. So this is dad jokes taken to another level.
Yeah, taken to school.
Right. They learn
Yeah.
that. In the end of the day, that's what you need. People learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, having this creative process not only motivates the students, but it also motivates
Yeah.
us. And,
Yeah.
as teachers, we have to be self-motivated all
You
the time,
sure?
right?
Yeah.
And
They go.
And we had a question here a while ago that was
Okay.
asking, it was actually not a question, it was a comment that said that
Hit
learning
me.
idioms is one of the hardest things when you're learning a language. And, I actually agree with that. I
It
have to
is.
agree,
It is.
because it is something that when you use, you become a lot more fluent and you
Yeah.
sound a lot more native. They
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
to use that
Yeah.
word. They sound a lot more native.
Agree.
And when you listen, that's one of the reasons why a lot of people have difficulties, and they think, and sometimes they don't even have difficulties, they just think that they do. But it's
Yeah.
because of idioms, because sometimes people use those idioms and they don't know what they mean, and they have to go to use the context and to guess what it means. So that's why I think that having a context is so important, right, when teaching idioms. So what do you think
Yeah.
about that?
I absolutely, I agree with you on that. I usually say that there are 2 points, two specific points in learning English that like are responsible for the difference between a native, let's say, a native speaker and a super proficient speaker who is not a native, a Brazilian,
Yeah.
whatever. Idioms and phrasal verbs. They,
Oh, definitely. That's what I
exactly.
say all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So the native will like always choose, they will always be 1 or 2 steps ahead because they already know. For example, if we see, if you want to say that we saw John and Mary kissing each other, we're going to say, well, guess what? I saw John and Mary kissing each other. Sorry, my phone just interrupted me.
That's all right.
John and Mary, you know, they kissed each other because this is really similar to the way we say in Portuguese, se beijaram, right?
Yes.
But the native will say, John and Mary made out.
Yeah.
Right? And you go like, what is that? You know?
Yeah.
So this is the difference. And also the use of idioms, right? You were, you know, if, you know, my sister, she loves going to parties. Every time someone calls her to go to a party, she's ready to go. But the native will say she's ready to go at the drop of a hat, which is an idiom from England. So, you know what I mean? This is the main, obviously, the pronunciation too. But these two that I said, phrasal verbs and idioms are like so important.
Yeah, the other day I was teaching a class, and it was a private class, and my student, and you know, it was a listening, and in the audio the girl said, "Oh, there's no point in doing that because it's something that he just throws on the wall and hope it sticks." And my student was like, "What does he throw on the wall?" Because when we don't understand, we tend to take it, you know, literally, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
And that's something that happens a lot. So I think we should take things, you know, we should use the context a lot more.
Of course, you can make your point across. Yeah, we can make a point. You can make a point across. You can be understood. I remember one of these days I was talking to an American friend of mine, and then I said, what was the thing that I said? I said, joking, she is too much sand for your little truck. I said, you know that? She is too much sand for your little truck. Okay, they don't say that. They say that she's way out of your league.
Yeah.
But he understood. He said, I gotcha. I totally got you, he said.
Context, right?
Context, right.
All about context.
I'm not saying something absurdly far from reality, you know? But it's fun. I think this is the fun thing about it. You don't need to go straight A's like 100% when you speak to someone.
Yeah, try. Just try.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's better to, you know, take a few risks than playing it safe. I think you should have fun. Yes. It's, you know, it's a language. It's not something that should be taken too seriously. At least that's what I think.
Not at all. If you take it too seriously, it becomes a burden. You go like, oh, my life is miserable. My God, I can't understand this thing. I will never be able. I have students saying, teacher, I will never be able to speak perfect English. Speaking in English, the sentence.
Yeah.
Teacher, I won't be able to speak. I said, do you listen to yourself?
You are speaking right now.
You are speaking English. What do you mean?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Sometimes they just, and I think that, you know, we are living right now. You know, you've been teaching for a long time, so I'm sure you know that. But we are living in what I like to call post-methodology era. So I feel like in the past, like back in the day, especially adults, not children, but back in the day, adults used to have a very traditional class in school or in a course, and now that they see that that's not the way, they still have a lot of that in their minds, and I feel like that's trauma residue a little bit, maybe. And that's why sometimes they don't believe that they will be able to speak, because they think that they will only be able to speak if they're speaking perfectly. And that's not true. I think that might be a little bit of you know, a result from a traditional methodology, maybe, because we are living, you know, in a post-methodology era. And maybe that's why they feel that
Maybe, yeah.
insecurity. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And also, I think that today things are so fast.
Yeah.
Information just comes so fast. Remember, you know, I was born in the 70s, so I was a kid in the 80s. And then I remembered how hard I started studying English in the 80s. And I remember how hard it was. Like if I wanted to have access to any publishing in English so that I could, we didn't have, forget computers, forget all these that we got here now, right? I needed to go to the airport because that was the only place I was able to buy a foreign newspaper or a magazine. It was very expensive, but when VCR finally came out, you know, video cassette. Yeah, well, think
Good
about
times.
it. Yeah, you know, we would put the tape. It was a tape that we would put there, and I would need to put a black tape on, you know, on top of the subtitles because I wanted to see something in English without the subtitles. Once I called the United States, that was funny. I called the United States. I managed to call the United States just to hear someone speaking, right? Mom and Dad didn't like it, but...
Oh, I'm sure they didn't because that's expensive.
Yeah, back then, trust me, it was really... So, and today, sometimes I tell my students, you have no idea how easy it is today to have access to whatever you want. You can literally learn anything you want on the web, right? So, but I think that this thing that everything should be for yesterday, you know, information so fast, they kind of also charge themselves as that they need to learn fast, but that's not the point, right? You don't need to learn fast. You need to learn.
Yeah, you know, everyone has a different. Oh my God, everyone has a different pace. You know,
Yes.
And I think that you should respect that and not compare yourself to other people because people are different. And, you know, just like I can't, you know, I'm not good at math, for example. I'm not good at, I'm not good at a lot of things. I'm not good at sports. So just like that, other people might be good at the things that I'm not good at. So we have to respect that and respect our own pace and not rush things.
And it's not because you are a teacher that you are not learning. I am learning like all the time, and I'm sure you are learning all the time.
Yes, sometimes.
And that's perfect.
And sometimes I feel like because I was talking to my mom the other day that I think I'm going through like a quarter life crisis.
Really?
And because sometimes I hear like kids talking and I'm like, what the hell are they saying? And I feel like I'm an old lady, but you know, that's something for another live stream.
But don't worry about it. And do you teach kids?
I do. I love teaching kids. That's how I started, actually. I started teaching kids. And sometimes I hear kids talking, even in Portuguese. And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? Because I don't understand any of that. And
they learn easy.
That happens in Portuguese. And it will obviously happen in English too. You know, it happens in any language, right? The language changes. It's constantly changing.
No, and the earlier you start, the better. It doesn't mean that an adult won't learn. Of course, anyone can learn. It's just a matter of, I mean, if you can start learning early or have your kids start learning earlier, that's what you got to do. Today I interviewed for the podcast for next Friday an American music producer, musician. His name is Rick Beato. He has a channel where he teaches music. I love him.
My dad's a big fan of him. Yeah.
Really? So I couldn't believe I was able to interview him. He said, "Yeah, so come on, let's do it." And I was like, "What?" And his son, he has a like 11 or 12-year-old son called Dylan, who has the perfect pitch. You know what that is? Perfect pitch?
Yeah.
This is, yeah, for those who don't know, perfect pitch is when you are able to identify any chord, any key from music, in a musical key and chord, and say them. His son does it. And why? Because he started playing songs while he was still in the belly, you know, in the 5th month. So
oh my God.
It's incredible. So
Yeah.
when should I have my kids learning English, teacher?
ASAP.
Now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
It's in the belly. Wait for the 5th month so the fetus can have the ears and do your job, dude.
And here I am, you know, tone deaf, you know.
Yeah, how about
you know,
that?
a 12-year-old is pitch perfect, and here I am tone deaf.
My God. How about that? You? Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's awesome.
I blame my parents for that because they didn't teach me.
Really?
They didn't put me in, you know, a music class in a very young age. But, you know,
But
anyways.
But your pronunciation is really good, so which means that you heard something in English early in your life, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a good example of that is a student that I have. She's 9 years old, and I like to say that she's a prodigy. I don't use that word a lot, but when it comes to her, she is a prodigy. She's so incredible. She reads
She's gifted, really.
She reads like full books in English, and she reads like literature in English. She's so
beautiful.
good. She's
amazing,
and she loves that. And I think that what sets her apart is the fact that she loves that, and she has fun. And to me, that's the point. I mean, if you don't like reading like huge books, you don't have to at 9 years old, but you have to find something that you like. For example, if you like music, follow that path. You know, if you like movies, follow that path. Follow the path that you love, and you won't see English as a burden, right?
No, yeah, sure. English is one of the few things that you can learn. You know, you learn English learning something else. You can, if you like wines. Okay, let's learn about wines in English. You are learning about wine while English is happening background. You want to learn about coffee or how to comb your hair, you name it, whatever you want to learn. This is the great thing about learning a language. I mean, if you want to learn math, okay, you just learn math, and there is no other way out, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, English, you can talk about any kind of thing. I was thinking about something to say, and I forgot, but it's always like that Friday nights. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. When
and I'm drinking soda. Don't worry, soda.
I thought you were gonna say I'm drinking, you know, a margarita or something.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
You wouldn't want me like that here. No.
It's not even 8 o'clock, right?
Not really. Yes, not really.
So let's just go back to that comment, and that the comment that said that learning idioms is really hard. One of the hardest things. Yeah, right. And I just want to ask you, as a teacher, I'm really curious about that. How do you usually teach idioms, like in a classroom? Because online, I know that I've seen, but in a class, how would you teach a class with, you know, that the target language is idioms?
I usually do that when there is a reading comprehension, because 90% of my students are adults, so I teach them the business English. So obviously there will be lots of idioms like the jargons.
Yeah.
So the corporative or the business language for meetings, things that, so what I usually do is we see some scene. Sometimes I like to put the office or the IT crowd, I love. And there will be some idioms in the middle of the discussion. So, and I go like, so what do you think is happening here? What did he want to say with that thing? And then they start, you know, trying. Okay, I think it means this. Sometimes they nail it.
Yeah.
But depending on the idiom, it's kind of hard. Like one of the days I was using this idiom, getting the wrong end of the stick, which is really weird. Yeah. I said, oh my God, I really, I understand. You don't understand because you are getting the wrong end of the stick, you know. Yeah. So I can't.
And
you know,
there are some variations sometimes. For example, some people say get the short end of the stick, and I feel like when they are you know, so much in their minds, they get confused and they're like, oh my God, this is a different idiom or the same idiom. Oh my God, I don't know English. And they freak out a little bit.
Yeah, for example, there are 3 idioms. I mean, obviously there will be more, but let's say 3 idioms for the same situation. Like this one, like can't make head or tail of it. Talking at cross purposes. And then you go, right?
Yeah, there are so many.
Yeah, it's a lot, and this is fun. Sometimes I get, okay, let's take a look at some idioms that are related to colors, or some idioms that are related to parts of your body, right? And then we use it, like big mouth. The person is a big mouth. Also, I put some slang words inside, so it is interesting. Yeah. And then I always make a point of people like, okay, you learned this now. Note that down, put in a paper, write them down, because as soon as we finish this class, if you didn't, you will forget.
Yeah, because it's not something we use all the time.
No, don't trust your brain.
Yeah, I think we have to use also incorporate it in our everyday language, which is really hard because we tend to fossilize sometimes, and we tend to like play it safe and not risk. And I think we should take risks.
We should. And also, as soon as, for example, let's say in the class we learn, I don't know, 12 new idioms. Let's say, put this in the paper, and next class, have this paper at hand, and let's start, let's have a conversation, and you look at the paper, and then you try to find a gap, try to find a proper place for, fitting that expression in. Yeah. And this is what we do, right? We keep putting in the conversation naturally.
Yeah, something that happens, sometimes, especially with a student, when you have a student that likes to play it safe, that's usually, a perfectionist. And sometimes, in the end of the class, in the personalization moment, this student, speaks like flawlessly and, is great, but, they don't use the target language. And I just look at them and I'm like, okay, that was great, but there was no target language. Yes. Yeah. They need to take risks. And even though they're not 100% sure, they should try to use it. And if it's not correct, we will correct, right? That's what we're there for.
Yeah, making mistakes is the process. You have to make mistakes. I usually say if there is one person here in this relationship who can't make mistakes, it's me, right? Yeah. I can't, because I'm teaching you. I'm supposed to know, and probably I will commit mistake here and there because we're not perfect.
We're humans,
we're
right?
We're teachers, right?
Yeah, we're people.
We're people. Sometimes I pretty much doubt I'm people, but I am people. I am people. Anyway, and then I say, don't worry about making mistakes. I need you to make. I mean, if you go to a doctor and you don't show your problems, everything will be fine, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to show my doctor my pain, right? So,
and
it's not a good idea.
If you don't say like that idiom, it will continue to exist. So you can't just ignore the existence of something and pretend it's not there, because it will still exist, and we have to learn and we have to deal with that.
Sure, because this is how we learn. Learning is a process of not committing the same mistakes. But
Yeah.
not that you will not commit mistakes. You have to, but not the same. Try not to commit the same. That's
Yeah.
it.
And do you have any strategies on how to practice idioms? Like
Uh,
any favorite activity?
I mean, we add to the vocabulary, and then I try. You can provoke. You can bring up some situation where you know that the students are gonna have to use that idiom, and then they will use it. They will use that idiom. Basically, that I often like to ask them to write something because the process of writing helps a lot the process of speaking. Only when you write, you have more time. You can, oh, I don't like that. I'm going to rewrite this one here. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to look up at the dictionary this. Oh, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to put it there. Actually, if you keep practicing your writing, this will reflect later in your speaking because it's the same process, right? It's it's the same logic. So when we do learn idioms, I put in the middle of the vocabulary. I want you to write something, but you must use this one and that one together, right? Or I put a list of vocabulary or idioms. Okay, write a sentence using 2 of this. You have to put to push a little bit.
Definitely. And something I like, an activity that I love to do is snowball fight. Do you like playing snowball fight? Like each student writes an idiom that from the target language, and each student writes one idiom in a piece of paper, and they make a ball, like a snowball, and they throw it at someone else, and the person has to come up with a story. It can be a real story or not. I say that that's the perfect moment to lie,
No,
and
that's perfect.
Come up with a story, and they have to use at least that idiom. They can incorporate other idioms too if they feel bold that they they can they have to incorporate the one that's in the snowball.
Yeah, this is a very good one. I used to do one in an English immersion that I sometimes go. I have people like in circle. I write. I start telling a story like this. In the middle of the night, I went to the kitchen. I opened the refrigerator and I saw. And then the other person needs to continue the story. And as
it's a story
person,
chain.
Exactly. So, but here's the thing. I have a bag full of words, random words. And then someone will pick up, so, I don't know, mechanic. And then the guy has to put mechanic in the middle of the refrigerator thing. So this is good for opening your, you have to, you shake your brain a lot. This is good.
Yeah, and also letting go, right? Letting go of, all the nerves that
and all the fears,
feeling.
everything. Yeah, you have to have fun, right? You have to learn how to laugh at yourself.
Yeah,
right?
And I think that they need, especially in a group, because when it's a private lesson, I feel like they don't have that fear that much because it's just you and the student. But when it's a class, usually they are so afraid of making mistakes that they feel so self-conscious about what they're gonna say, and they just need to understand that they are in the same boat, right?
Yeah. It's interesting how they're afraid of making mistakes. I mean, what's the big deal? Like I say, if you don't listen, I'm afraid of speaking because I'm afraid of making mistakes. And I say, okay, listen, if you don't make mistakes, I will stop teaching you. Yeah. Why? Because if you don't make mistakes, you know everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? If I need you, I want you to make mistakes. Please make me happy. I want to laugh at you.
Yeah.
I want to make fun of you. Don't take you so seriously.
If you don't make a mistake, you are definitely in the wrong group. You
don't
belong to this group. Yeah, you belong to another group. Or,
you have to teach.
Yeah, you have to teach. Yeah, Definitely. And
Yeah.
that's something they need to understand because it's hard. Especially adults, like children don't take themselves that seriously. And teenagers,
Yeah.
usually sometimes, unless it's, a perfectionist, but most of the time they don't really care that much. But with adults, and I feel like that comes from the traditional baggage that they have a little bit, not everything, obviously,
Yeah.
but a little bit comes from that because they're so. I remember what my mom used to tell me because she still is like super traumatized because of her past and her school where she used to go when she was a child and a teenager, and she's still like traumatized from that
Right.
experience because it was so rough and so like they wanted the kids to be perfect and they couldn't make mistakes, otherwise they were punished. And that
Yeah.
was, and I
Yeah.
can't imagine because, I mean, I grew up in the 90s. So, like, that was a completely different world. And it was still, like, in the 90s, it was still a little traditional. It was a transition moment, I feel. But I feel like for me, it was so different, and I can't even imagine like having to go through that. And how
Yeah.
was your experience? Because you said you grew up in the
Uh,
80s, right?
yeah. Actually, a funny story. Like, I needed extra English classes in school because I was not getting it. And then I said, I like to sing, I like rock, I like music, and I want to understand what these guys are singing. I'm not doing good in school in English, so I need to do something. So at the age of 12, I started teaching. I started learning. You see the habit? I
Yeah.
started learning at the age of 12 in an English course, and I did it all. And this is really interesting because parents, when they put their kids for learning, they will only leave that course after they've finished that, right? They complete it. Not an adult. An adult starts learning and then they stop and they stay like a year without doing it, or they are involved in a project, or they're traveling or something, but not
Yeah.
kids. So I was lucky enough to start learning and when I was a kid. But I remember that back in school, I mean, basically the way they taught, I mean, on the regular school, the way they taught English was um, verb to be and those very
Oh, no.
not so attractive ways of,
No.
okay, what am I doing here? I would love to, you know, but that was the way they used to teach, right? Um, it didn't, and it's terrible because if you back then, if you tried the vestibular only with the English that you had in school, you would flop.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
now that's changing, I think. I mean, I don't teach in a regular school, but I have students, who attend regular schools. So I think
Nice.
that's changing. And, in comparison to my childhood and to your childhood,
Yeah.
that's changing a lot now. And I'm glad it's changing because that prepares the students so much more. It's not the idea. I feel like we are getting there. It's not there yet,
Not the
but
ideal.
yeah, it's, on the right track. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think we have a lot to learn, but obviously the technology and all that we have today has helped a lot
Yeah.
kids to learn and people to learn. Internet started in 1998, if I'm not wrong, really strong in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
But still, it was not that easy to have a computer. Now, I mean, back then you needed to have a computer if you wanted to have the internet. Today, you have computer in your watch.
Yeah.
It is crazy how fast
It's
things
crazy.
things happen. But I still think that for example, some schools or publishers, they should follow this trend more closely. I miss more online material, online books and stuff for kids. For kids now, for anyone who wants to learn.
Yeah. They should, jump on that train and really embrace it.
People are waiting.
Yeah.
People
And that
are really
motivates
waiting.
kids. And, we can't force our childhood on kids now. And we have to respect their, their likes. And, that's what I feel. And sometimes it's hard for us because we didn't grow up with a smartphone or a tablet. But I feel like sometimes I see like 5-year-olds with their iPads, and I'm like, oh my God, my 5-year-old self would be freaking out if I had that.
Yeah, exactly.
My inner child
I saw the
is
turning
screaming.
point. Yeah, of course. I saw the turning point. I can honestly tell you how it was before the internet and after the internet, and I tell you, it's much better now. Trust me.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes we tend to do that. Sometimes we do that, like not so consciously, but we do that, and we try to force things down their throats, and that's not cool.
Yeah,
and
sometimes it's right. Well, I'm not the best person to say that because I haven't been teaching kids or teens. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's better for me now that I am teaching adults because many of them are like, we're in the same wavelength, we know, they know. And, but what is incredible here is that Brazil is so, delayed in that. We need to catch up with the time. For example, where are you from? Where do you live now?
I'm from Espírito Santo.
Nice. So you are in Espírito Santo now.
Yeah.
Porto Alegre, Rio Grande do Sul. Actually, Canoas, which is like 15 minutes from Porto Alegre.
Okay. I'm from Vitória, the capital.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I have some friends from Espírito Santo.
Really? Oh my
God.
We exist out of Espírito Santo.
How about that? Yeah, from
I had
Colatina.
No idea. Really? That's far from where I live. But, that's interesting. Yeah. That's good to know.
Friends from my street, they had a drugstore around here.
Awesome.
And Rio Grande do Sul, why am I saying that? Because Rio Grande do Sul is, incredibly enough, is one of the states with the highest lack, I love this, with the highest lack of English speakers in Brazil.
Really?
I don't know why.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling.
And Brazil in total, it's around 6th place, 66th place in the world of nations that speak English. Argentina is in the 30th place.
Oh my God. That's crazy. I had no idea. That's mind-boggling information right there.
It is totally mind-boggling. Yeah.
Yeah. I really have no idea.
We have a good field ahead.
Yeah. And do you think that, the way that some teachers refuse to, because I'm a mentor, I mentor a lot of teachers online, and I feel like sometimes they still have a lot of difficulties incorporating the new tools in their classes. And do you think that it has to do with the way that teachers are not so valued here in Brazil?
Yeah, sure, of course. Probably they think, why should I bother? Why should I go all this length just to do it? They're not paying me,
Yeah.
Or I don't get.
They're not paying me enough for that.
Yeah. Why would I? Yeah, and also there's another thing. This is the comfort zone. They're in their comfort zone. Oh, This is how I do. This is how I learn. This is how I've been doing. In a few years, I'm going to retire.
Oh, that's
there are people who think that. Yeah, there are some people who really think that. But what I believe, though, is that we've had in the past few years a lot of teachers working for themselves, right? But their own business, not working in schools.
Yeah.
If you're a teacher, I strongly recommend you to have your own job. Anyway, have your business, have your business.
You start small, right? That's what I did, actually. I started small, and then I had like one private student, and then this student had a wife, and then the wife had a cousin, and then the cousin had a friend. And then,
how about that?
You know, when you...
So network.
Yes, and before you know it, you have a waiting list of students.
You do? Yeah. I always say that. Don't worry about how many students you have. Worry about how many students you have in your waiting list. How many people are in your waiting list. This is how you measure your business. I mean, okay, this is another conversation, but but I think that if this is one of the things. I mean, if you work for yourself, you know that the more you work, the better it is. So you will feel the need of catching up with the new technologies and you know, going after some new ideas and some new materials and stuff like that. That's the point. But if you are like working for someone else, I don't know. I think you don't have. I don't think you have this kind of thought.
Yeah, that kind of motivation, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm doing this for someone else. I'm not doing this for myself.
Yeah.
And when you do it for yourself, it's a completely different thing. I think it's a completely different mindset.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
you
that really
turn
changed for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
I
used to try because before I started, you know, doing my own things, I used to teach at a school. It was like an English course, and I loved it. It was great. But then I had to choose between like private classes or staying there, and then I chose private classes. And honestly, I see a huge change in my mindset, the way that I think about things now, because it's not about somebody telling me, do this, do that. And it's about me having, having pure conscience of my decisions, being aware of what actually makes the students motivated and what actually makes them learn. And that's totally different because, you know, back in the day, it was all about, you know, just telling what people told me to do, and now not anymore.
Yeah, when you have your own business, when you have you can establish your goals. You are the only one responsible for going, you know, moving ahead.
Yeah.
You know, so that's it.
There is no one else. It's just you. You and your students.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And this is great because you end up doing a good job. You give a good class. So they will talk to other people about, oh, you know, that teacher's good. Why don't you try? So it's the word by mouth is really, really helpful. And obviously now with the internet, with the social media, if you have this is a window shopping. You know, people will look at you. This is the best display.
Definitely.
Oh, I want to have class with Isabel. Why not? She looks nice. She speaks well. Let's do it.
That's true. And I think that, you know, just going back to what we were, you know, originally talking about. I feel
which is the war in Ukraine.
Yeah. And I feel like when you say things like, for example, what we said in the beginning, that, for example, if the students want to speak in a more, you know, native way, they need to use, you know, phrasal verbs and idioms. And when we say things like that in a class, they don't listen to us as much as when we say things like that in a private class. I don't know why, but that happens. I feel like that really, that happens a lot. Has it happened to you?
Yeah, you know, it's, I have just one group, but the other students are all just one-on-one. I have a group of 3 guys, and they're doing good. I mean, it's a little bit complicated to give classes to groups over Zoom.
Yeah.
But it's not a very big one, so okay. But yeah, you're right. Obviously, when you are just with you and your student, you're looking at them.
Yeah.
So they feel like, oh, I should pay attention here.
Yeah.
And this is kind of funny because they feel like, okay, I have no other option. But it's great because they feel, okay, so here is the moment, and this is the moment when I really need to take it seriously, right? So it's me and the teacher. I'm paying for that, obviously. So there are a lot of things happening. Yes, and I think that this happens more, and this is interesting. When I have like a company call me, say, hey, we have a group of people here that we are thinking about helping towards the cost of the course, like 50%, 70%. I have to resist the urge of say, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because don't do it. No, this is my personal experience. Many people in companies, they will study English, not because they really want to study English, but for two reasons. Well, I'm not paying anyway.
Yeah.
And second, boss is looking at me here being interested.
It's like a second job,
happens.
like having a second job.
It happens. It's incredible. It happens. It happens. It's very, if I have, you can write that down. If you have a group of 10 people in this situation, in the end of the year, you have 4 people. Because if you're lucky, right, you have 4 people that are really determined.
Yeah, I've seen that happen a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Where I used to work, they used to have like partnerships with some companies, and some semesters I would have a class with like 10 students from those companies, and by the end of the semester I have like 2 or 3 because they would leave because they would do it because their boss wanted them to do it, not because they wanted to be there.
Yeah, there is a moment in the process they go like, oh God, I have to study then.
Yeah.
I thought I just needed to come, but I have homework. What the hell?
Yeah,
I have
tests.
You want to learn?
Oh my God.
Yeah. What are you talking about, right?
Yeah, especially when it's like early in the morning. Yeah. Oh my God, they just.
I have stories. Oh my God.
We really need to do this again, Fabio.
Of course, just call me. You know where to find me.
We really do to talk about other things, right?
Of course.
So before we wrap this up, I'd like you to talk about, all your escalates and your things, because I know you have your fingers on a lot of pies. So
oh my God, you are using the idioms a lot today, right?
We have to, keep using them. So can you tell us a little bit about that, where to find you and...
Sure. Well, here now, this is my Instagram. I've been focusing a lot on Instagram when I reached 100,000 followers there on Twitter. I said, okay, now I'm going to go to the Instagram. And then I started really doing a lot of things here. So Instagram here, teacher. I am stupid enough to put underscore or underline.
But that's
teacher.
Okay. Especially like 10 years ago. That was a thing there. It was like trendy.
You understand me now.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Teacher underline Fabio Emerim. This is here me. And on Twitter, if you want to follow me there, it's easy. Just fine. It's even easier. Dicas underline English. I know I'm silly. I know it was not a good idea.
But that's catchy. No, that's catchy.
Do you think so?
I do. I really do. When you sent me your Twitter account, I was like, I've seen this before. I even, I had never come across that page before that. Now, I'm hooked. But when I saw that, I was like, that's so familiar. And even though I had never seen it before, it sounded familiar. So I think it was a great choice of name.
Yeah, that's great. That's interesting. Yeah, so I'm there, and I'm around. And if you want to listen to the podcast, just go to any platform.
When do they happen?
Every Friday there are new episodes.
Today?
Today, this morning, I have Way Ahead this morning. So Way Ahead, which is 100% English. It's a conversation with a teacher from Canada called Sarah Hope. She's so funny. She lived in Brazil, and the beginner one, which is starting up, is ways to say I'm sorry.
Ah, cool. Okay.
Yeah, and what? Oh yeah, and you find it on any platform.
Go on,
Just
sorry.
go English in Brazil, and find it. It's on Spotify, Apple, you name it. Deezer, I suppose. I was supposed to be there, right?
Yeah. And on that topic, I just want to mention again that every time I have a live stream with a teacher, I have a course. It's called Be the Material. It's for teachers, not for students. It has, you know, everything you need for classes. It has all the resources, all the tools you need. It's for every single age group, for very young learners, teens, and adults. And it has lesson plans. It has how to plan a lesson, about things about storytelling, about games, and everything.
Right.
You know, you need to know as a teacher. And every time I have a live stream, I have a discount. So there is a discount. Just use the coupon Be the Material 80, and you have 80% off. Your purchase.
I like
That's
the
a
name.
lot.
I like the name. Be the Material. Be the Material.
Thank
Very
you.
good name.
Yeah, you don't need,
Smart.
you know, all those books. You just need this material. Yeah.
Good. I'm gonna check your material. I'm gonna check your
Thanks
material.
a lot. I really appreciate it.
For sure.
And thank you so much for, you know, being here
Anytime.
today.
Appreciate it.
And
anytime. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you so much for being a part of this. And I hope we can do this again soon, right?
Just call me. Just call me. Don't be a stranger.
Okay, I won't. I will definitely
All right.
Call you again for, you know, another time. Okay?
I'll be here. Right.
So,
all right.
See you soon, Fabio. See you
soon, and have a great weekend.
You too. So thank you guys for watching and for the comments. I really appreciate it. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.